No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go through the new crew skills, the crew systems and the perks that I think you should probably take on most tanks. Now obviously this is all my opinion, so before we get into that, it is all my opinion. You might think, no, I don't want to take that perk. That other perk sounds better. So, you know, it's all trial and error. It's still trial and error even at this point, you know. So what you want to take is what you want to take, but I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on why I think you should take some of the perks we're going to go through. So here we've got a 9 skill perk crew, right? And it's for the slapjack. So let's have a look at the old perks. So, quick learner. 10% increase to commander XP earned from battle. That could be good for those that are training up crews. Now, it's not one you would never take this on a fully trained crew. You probably wouldn't even take this on a crew that's got like 7 or 8 skills, okay? But if you've got a crew that's 1 skill or 2 skills preferable, you could probably take 6 cents and then take quick learner and then train the rest of your perks and then have to trade out, right? So that could be quite a useful skill. It's just like whatever the perk was before. I can't even remember. I never used it. But yeah, it's kind of like that one. I think it might even be slightly better though. Born Leader, 10% increase to skill effectiveness and crew performance. Well, that is brothers in arms, and it's one that you are always going to take. Because you always want to increase the crew's performance by 10%. That is such a vital skill, because that increases your gun handling, your view range, generally everything that you want to make better, so like your DPM as well. So you're always going to take that on whatever tank you're going to get. And I think there's probably 5, maybe 6 skills that you are pretty much always going to take on a tank. And that's why I feel you're a bit limited by the 9 skills. But I'm not sure, because I feel like you should be able to pick 12. But then there might be there's already balancing issues with some of these skills. Some of these skills are way too overtuned. But there might be more of a balancing issue with the fact that you can take all these perks but not take all the effective ones basically. But yeah, 9 skills limits you a bit, because then you've already lost what, 5 or 6 crew skill slots, and then you've only got 3 to play with. So anyway, let's carry on. Last Stand, 25 increase to crew performance when under 10% HP. It's very situational perk. I couldn't recommend taking the Last Stand perk because it's just situational. You have to be under 10% HP for it to start working. Whereas you want perks that basically help your tank while you're still alive and while you're still healthy, right? You don't want to be taking perks that only come into effect half the time. So I couldn't ever recommend taking Last Stand. It's definitely not a perk that I think you should take. Rapid Loading, 10% increase to gun reload speed. Yes. Every single time. Yes. This is one that you'll be taking on pretty much every tank, because you want 10% better DPM all the time. Because everyone else is going to be taking this. So therefore, your 10% better DPM is... Or, I say, you're going to just have 10% worse DPM than other people, especially if they have the same tank as you and they have that perk and you don't. So I think that is one that's going to be vital. I think possibly, maybe on like a tank like Slapjack, especially, in the fact that it's already got a ridiculous reload, you could probably drop it for another perk if you were desperately wanting to take something else. It is one that you could, but you don't want to be losing that 10% extra DPM. I mean, obviously Tiger 131, for example, already has a ridiculous reload, but if you run the food and everything like that, with that 10% increase, you can get 3.8 second reload, which is absolutely mad. And if you came across another one of yourself with that reload, with that reload, and you hadn't taken that perk, they're going to kill you more often than you're going to kill them. So, yeah, you're going to want to keep rapid loading. You're going to want to keep it. There's pretty much one that you're going to be taking on every tank. Adrenaline Rush. Again, it's exactly the same as last stand. You don't want to be taking a perk that will only help you probably less than half the time. You don't want to be taking that. So instead of going over the first page, I'm going to go across each line. So we're going on to the next line. Silent driving. 55% decrease to effect on driving on your vehicle's camo factor. Ineffective on light tanks. So you're never going to take that on a light tank, but medium tanks, maybe the really stealthy ones. It's a good perk. It's a good perk to have, but at the same time, is it one you're going to take over some of the others? Probably not. This is what I mean by 9 skills is a little bit limiting, because this is one that you're probably not going to take over, say, the camouflage expertise, muffled shot, or green thumb. Because these three are ones that you are going to take on light tanks, pretty much. If you're going to take them, you're going to take these three. You're not going to take muffled silent driving, obviously, because that doesn't work on light tanks. But even on medium tanks, you're not going to take that. You're probably going to take one of these three. Because camouflage expertise, obviously increasing your camo by 10%, fantastic. That's a must for light tanks, pretty much. You are always going to take that on light tanks. And then that goes with some of the other skills that we're going to see anyway that are your guaranteed first set of perks. Muffled shot. Now, I take muffled shot on light tanks over green thumb, because green thumb increases your vehicle camo by 10% when you're in foliage. But if you're using your gun and you pull back behind a bush, 35% decrease the effect on firing on your vehicle's camo is very, very useful and very helpful. So for me, if I had to only pick 2 of the camo perks, I would pick camouflage expertise and muffled shot. That's me personally. Others might take green thumb. You might take all 3 in a light tank. But for me, in some light tanks, I've only taken 2 of those. Because for me, I'm more aggressive. I always want to be firing my gun. So if I use cover and foliage and pull back behind it, then I'm happier to try and increase the chance of not getting spotted by firing than I am just having my camo when I'm in a bush. So that's why I'd take those 2. Silent driving, like I say, is a perk that you're probably not going to take, because you don't have the space to take it, ever, really, for the most part. So that's unfortunately one that's going to drop to the wayside. Again, which is why I kind of like 12 perks, but I could see some major balancing issues with the way that some of the perks are if we did that. So, yeah, it's a questionable one. Sixth Sense, always. Just like before, you're always going to be taking Sixth Sense, because you want to know when you've been spotted. Because obviously you've got a detected beep and icon, right? But the detected beep only tells you when they're looking at you, and by that point, for the most part, it's too late. And especially in this climate of crew skills, detected is way less helpful nowadays than it was beforehand, because as soon as you're spotted, you're going to get shot. I say as soon as you're spotted. As soon as you're detected, you're going to get shot, because people can snapshot you incredibly well nowadays. So as soon as they're looking at you, you've lost health, and it's not as helpful. It's nice, obviously, now to know if people are looking at you when you're poking ridges and that, and you know you're spotted. It's helpful, but for the most part, when you're not spotted and you don't have Sixth Sense, I should say, it's not that useful as much as it was before. So Sixth Sense is one that you always want to take, always. General Mechanic is like repairs, but I don't think it's as useful as having Trap Mechanic anymore, because of reusable consumables. Reusable consumables basically made General Mechanic, it made it a skill that you don't really want to take as much, because if you're using reusable consumables, and especially since even the small repair kits repair everything, this General Mechanic isn't as useful as it once was. So having your tracks go back on by 25% quicker is definitely one you want, definitely. And that's your 4th skill that you're probably going to take. And if you only have 3 choices for skills, okay. Now, obviously, I did say you could take Quick Learner and learn your skill quicker. That's fine. But if you weren't going to take Quick Learner, I would always recommend Born Leader, Sixth Sense, and then Trap Mechanic. They're the first 3 you'd take. And I think some of the Rambo crews and stuff like that have already got 3 skills, so that's what I'd say, is always take those 3 first. Because then you've got better cruise performance, you know when you're spotted, and you'll never get, tracked, and then you'll be stuck there for too long. So That's what you want to do. So let's go from this line. Firefighting. This is probably a perk I'd say you want to be taking, especially if you run food, which for the most part nowadays you want to be running food, especially for that bonus. You want to be running that. And yeah, I'd say run firefighting over fire prevention. And that's because fire prevention decreases your chance by 33% of getting set on fire, right? But RNG still likes to have its wicked way with you. And RNG still likes to say, ha, I'll set you on fire anyway. 33%? Nah, I just get set on fire. So I would always recommend taking firefighting over fire prevention, because when you do get set on fire, you want to be able to put it out quicker. You don't want to burn for too long, and the firefighting really helps in that way. And it's definitely a perk that you want to be taking if you're running food. If you're not going to run food and you're going to run fire extinguisher, that's possibly a perk slot that you free up for something else. So there is that too. Supply conservation. 15% increase to consumable recharge speed is very nice, especially with the fact that we've got reusable consumables now, because that's, I mean, what would that be? That would be like 50 seconds nearly away. Yeah, something like that. Quick maths, I don't know. It'd be nearly like 50 seconds waiting for a reusable consumable to be used again, which would be very helpful. But over the perks, other perks you can take, no, you wouldn't take this. This is a droppable perk that I wouldn't recommend taking. Very helpful perk now with reusable consumables, but no, I couldn't recommend taking it. Marked target. 3-second increase to duration of a target enemy's detection time. No, don't take that. It's just a waste of a slot. Obviously, it's nice to keep things lit for longer, because more chance of spotting on light tanks and stuff like that, but it's a waste of a slot. There's too many other perks that are just too valuable. Comms Technician, 30% increase to radio range, 20% increase to radio range of nearby allies. Why? Nope, don't take that. Pointless. Situational Awareness, always. Always, always, always. You always want to be taking that because you want to increase your review range by 6% all the time. You want to be able to just not get outspotted. Obviously, you will get outspotted in a lot of tanks. But if you take Situational Awareness, the likelihood of that happening is going to be a lot lower. And it's definitely a perk you want to be taking, because it was that is basically Situational Awareness and Recon put together. And instead of being a 5% bonus like they would be put together, it's now 6%. So it's something you want to be taking. Steady aim. Right, okay. I've mucked up slightly here. Firefighting is probably one that you're going to be taking every time you run food. If you're not running food, the 6 perks would be steady aim. Because you always want to make your gun 10% more accurate. Because being more accurate is more helpful, right? That is always going to help. So that's one you're always going to take, is steady aim. Always. You'd probably... so at this point, I would say the 6 perks that you are always going to take on a tank is Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Sixth Sense, Track Mechanic, Situational Awareness, and Steady Aim. And if you're going to run food, Firefighting is probably a must too. So if you're running food, like I do on pretty much all my tanks, this is 7 perk slots that are gone already. And then you only have 2 left to play with, which is then when you get the awkward choices made, which is kind of like, which is kind of why I want 12, because it'd be nice to be able to sort my crew out better, and it makes some of the perks actually usable too. Because some of the perks are just like, oh, there's no point in taking that because I'm just wasting a slot when I've got other perks that I could take, right? So like supply conservation would be a very nice one to take. That would be very helpful with your reusable consumables, but can't take it because there's just too many other perks that are more helpful. So yeah, so 6 perks that you're definitely going to take on everything, and 1 optional one that you're probably going to take if you are running food like I do. So on a tank, well, I was going to say on a tank like that, right, let's carry on going through this anyway. Rapid aim, 10% increase to turret and gun rotation speed. That is a very nice perk to have on turreted TDs. You wouldn't think it, but having your turret turn 10% quicker is very nice. On stuff like a Scorpion, your turret just it goes so much quicker. Like on the Vindicator Charioteer, which is one I've been using it on, the turret rotation is, while it's still not great, it just means it turns more like a medium tank than a turreted TD, which is very nice. And I could say that you could possibly take that one on turretless TDs. On turreted, I will get there in the end. On turreted TDs, you probably want to be taking rapid aim. But over some of the other perks, maybe not. But if you don't run food, if you don't run food and you run a fire extinguisher on tanks, I would probably say you could drop the firefighting and put rapid aim on. So there is that. Gunsmith, 30% increase to accuracy of a damaged gun. Well, that's a nice skill. Especially for a lot of tanks like that are good hull down, that get their turret shot and then people just break the gun. But is it one you're going to take over many other 9? Is it one you're going to take in your 9 perks? Probably not. I couldn't say you're going to take Gunsmith. I couldn't recommend taking it in your 9 skills. Like I say, it'd be nice. Possibly in turretless TDs, because turretless TDs have some of these perks that just become a bit useless, to be honest. So like some of the ones that I'd say take on heavy tanks, you're not going to take on turretless TDs. So maybe that one could work on a turretless TD, because if you're getting shot near the gun mantle and stuff like that, maybe on a Diamondback, obviously if you get your gun damaged and you can't repair it in time, you could use that and make your gun more accurate, which is always nicer, right? But then reusable consumables also make that perk a little bit irrelevant, because, well, you're only going to have your gun damaged for about a minute, if that. Or maybe you've already used your repair kit and you haven't instantly fixed it. You're probably still on a cooldown, so you're probably like 30 seconds away from using your reusable consumable again. So it's a perk that, you're just not going to take in these 9 slots. It's not going to happen. Deadeye, 6% increase to chance of damaging enemy crew and modules with AP, APCR, and heat shells. Well, that's different. Okay, they've changed that perk a little bit. Obviously, it's not one I'm not going to recommend taking that. I'm not. There's too many perks that are a bit more too valuable, to be honest. 6% increase to chance of damaging enemy crew and modules is very nice. But with AP, APCR, and heat shells, before it was only AP and APCR, because it didn't affect HE or heat. Well, now heat obviously helps, which, yeah, okay, that's fine. At least it's not HE, because could you imagine taking this on artillery if it was HE? God, no, that would be horrible. But yeah, so this is one that I couldn't recommend taking. Don't take it. It's not worth it over a lot of other skills. Iron Mace. Now this is a useful skill. 25% decrease to the effect that distance has on shell penetration ability. It's most helpful for tanks that have APCR standard. But it's one that I'd take if I had more chances to take a skill. Again, I couldn't really recommend taking it all that much on a tank, especially with this 9 skill format. If we had more skills, it's one that you'd probably take, but it's just, I couldn't really recommend taking it, to be honest. Maybe on tanks that have, I'll take a Dragon, for example. It'd be more helpful for a Dragon when you're in a bottom tier matchup, because it's only got 236 pen, and it's not got a higher pen premium round. So if you put the Iron Mace skill on it, you're going to stay, instead of dropping down below 230 pen at range, it's going to stay way above. So you're going to stay closer to your truer penetration values with Iron Mace. So it could be useful on a tank like that. But for the most part, it's not one I could recommend taking unless we have more skills. It's kind of, nah. Snapshot. Well, for the heavy tank like the Slapjack, always going to take it. Increasing my accuracy during turret rotation is, yeah, it's one that you want for heavy tanks. You want to be increasing the accuracy as much as possible, and Snapshot is a very useful skill with that. As well as the next one, which is Run and Gun. Run and Gun is the Snakebite perk. It's what the Snakebite perk was, and it's the Snakebite perk combined with Smooth Ride, because, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe Snakebite was a 3% bonus to shots on the move. I think it was 7.5% for Smooth Ride. So they've added them together and taken off a 0.5%, but a 0.5% doesn't really matter all that much. So 10% increased accuracy on the move. Oh baby, every time. You want to be doing that for the most part, because on heavy tanks, yes, just making everything more accurate, then you can snapshot people easier. It just nullifies bad weaknesses in guns. Now this Slapjack does have a gun that can be derpy, so it's nice to have. But anyway, we're going to keep going through the skills. Clutch braking, 7.5% increase to vehicle hull rotation speed. Again, it'd be quite nice for tanks, especially turretless TDs, that you can't keep your turret up with people that are trying to circle you. Maybe you want to be taking this skill. But is it worth it over a lot of other skills? Probably not. Again, it's a luxury skill, and I'd probably call the ones that you could take as luxury skills, because they're ones that if you had the chance to take it, it'd be nice. But would you take it over some of the other skills? No. Off-road driving, 15% increase to handling on soft terrain, 7.5% increase to handling on moderately soft terrain. Now that's, again, useful for when you're driving over swampy ground, stuff like that. But it's a luxury skill again. You're not going to be taking that ever, because there's too many other skills that are more important. Like, I'd rather take gunsmith over that. Like, no, I couldn't recommend taking that. Trick driving, which is parachute training, don't ever take 30% reduction in fall damage. I mean, it was one of the skills you trained last before with the previous crew system. With the new crew system, don't take it. No, never do it. Fire prevention, we've already gone over this one. Like I say, I'd say with a tank like the FV215B, you might be taking fire prevention and firefighting, right? Because tanks that are more prevalent to getting set on fire, you might take both, because decreasing your chance to get set on fire as well as putting out the fire quicker when you get set on fire is nice. And yeah, so something like the FV215B, which I definitely do run both those perks on, yeah, but firefighting over fire prevention for me. Safe stowage, it's nice, right? 25% increase to ammo rack durability. So you're not going to get ammo rack to 25. You're going to get ammo rack to 25% less of the time if you take this skill. But it's RNG, number one. It's same as before. It's RNG. You probably still get your ammo rack damaged anyway. But yeah, I couldn't recommend taking this over a lot of other skills in this tree. Armor angling, 5% decrease to damage received. Now, that's a perk that I wish that they'd never put in. And it's a perk you could take, again, in lieu of firefighting. If you took the food away from a tank and put extinguishers on, and you dropped firefighting, armor angling could be one you could put on. But I could only really recommend that for heavy tanks, because you're in a brawling situation. You're probably going to be losing. If you're not losing health, obviously, you can play your tank right and then not lose health. But if you're not really losing that much health in a heavy tank in a brawl, you're probably not doing something, or you're just getting very lucky. So that 5% decrease to damage received can be very nice for heavy tanks, because it means, you're probably getting hit. If a 400 alpha gun is looking at you, you're getting hit for 380. You've automatically decreased their alpha towards you to 380. So that's nice. It's a perk that shouldn't exist, because that just adds more RNG to the game. And I wish they'd remove it, but it's probably going to stay, unfortunately. And it's one that you might take over firefighting. Or one of the accuracy skills. Because you could probably drop, say, Snapshot, for instance, and put that on instead. Controlled impact, 20% decrease to ram damage to self, 20% increase to ram damage to enemy. That's a meme perk. That is a meme perk that you could be sticking on an E50. I wouldn't say you want to be sticking on an E50, because again, there's too many perks that you take to improve your E50 to make it usable. But it's a meme perk. If you put this and then run it on a Rampanzer E50, something that's good at ramming, like a 50B as well, you could be memeing and ram people for a lot and not get as much taken off you. But is it going to be taken over not any of the other 9 skills? No. It's a luxury perk. You're not going to be taking that. I couldn't recommend ever taking that. Pain tolerance, 20% decreased chance of crew injury. Again, It's a luxury perk. It'd be a very nice perk to have. But are you going to take it over some of the other key vital skills? No, you're not. No. I couldn't recommend taking pain tolerance again over some of the other skills. So that's all the skills gone over and what they do, and would I recommend taking them on tanks? Yeah, so let's see if we've got another tank. So let's go to light tanks and see if I've got a 9 perk crew set up for those vehicles. So I feel like I have one set up for the Frenchies. Now obviously it might be different for autoloaders too. So you've got the MX-13-105 here. You've got the Commander. Let's have a look what we've got. So, especially on autoloaders, that 10% rapid loading is going to be one you're going to be taking every time, like I say, because 10% better reload on your autoloader. You're not going to want to not take that, are you? So here we go. This is where differences come in. I have the 13105 is one that gets set on fire a lot through its engine, but I've actually not taken firefighting because I've decided to go with camouflage, muffled shot. So I've taken these two, like I said in the previous bit, because obviously I want to make my tank more stealthy, which is nice. You always want to increase your camo rating in a light tank because it's part of the tank's design, so that's one you always want to take in a light tank. In muffled shot, again, 35% decrease the effect on firing on your vehicle's camo. You want to take in. Now the 3105 is derpy, and I don't like that, so I've taken steady aim and snapshot, making it more accurate when I turn the turret, and making it more accurate when I am just making it more accurate in general. I don't run and gun all that much on my autoloaders because for the most part, when I'm autoloading on someone, I'm probably not going to be moving. I'm going to be making sure my shots are aimed in, and I'm going to make sure I'm hitting. So I could probably say run and gun is one you could drop when you're running an autoloader. So yeah, there's that. And if we were to go to something else, TD, turretless TD, right, tier 8. We're going to go to the AT-15 because I think I have that one set up, because this could run for the Diamondback too. So let's go to commanders. Here we go. Right, Born Leader, rapid loading, 6th sense, trap mechanic, firefighting, situational awareness, and steady aim. Like I say, these are pretty much perks that you're pretty much always going to take. Then we've got run and gun, because some of the perks that you're going to be taking on this are useless. So snapshot is one. You're never going to take snapshot because it's during turret rotation. Well, you don't have a turret. Whether that works for gun rotation, I don't know, because it doesn't specify. So for the most part, on this point, you're probably going to be taking run and gun and steady aim and not taking snapshot. Same as obviously rapid aim becomes useless as well. You could be taking clutch braking. Okay, clutch braking could be useful on a tank like this, but I'm taking the armor angling instead because obviously I'm a brawling TD, and reducing the damage I'm taking is kind of useful. So I've decided to take that, and obviously I've got run and gun because if I want to keep advancing into a position but keep my gun firing, helping my accuracy while I'm rotating into that position can be very nice. So yeah. So those are the crew skills. They're what the crew skills do. That's what I'd recommend for different tanks, because these crew skills are definitely ones you want to be taking with a lot of different things. Like here we go with the bat chat. Now this was one I set up at first when I first came into the new crew system. So I took fire prevention over firefighting, but I realised I was still getting set on fire no matter what anyway. So firefighting is definitely one you want to reset. But you see here, like I've not taken run and gun because I want to be sitting still, and because the bat chat plays like a light tank, I've put camouflage expertise on. But I'm not running. Why am I not running? I'm not running muffled shot. I'm just running camouflage because on your medium tanks, it is quite nice to make your tanks more stealthy. Again, having camouflage expertise is quite nice. Now, I'm still not sure because you could play with this, right? You could take camouflage expertise and make your tank just generally more stealthy, or you could take Muffled Shot and make it so that if you're behind a bush and you're not spotted, make it less likely for you to get spotted when you fire through the bush. So there's a lot of playing around you can do with this crew system. And like I said, I've given you my recommendations for what you could take. Now again, this was one of the first crews I set up, so when I was messing about with it, general mechanic, take trap mechanic instead, firefighting instead of that, and I was messing about with the armor angling and stuff as well. I wouldn't recommend taking that on the FV4202. It's annoying that you have to pay 90 gold to reset, but hopefully they'll fix that. Hopefully that's just a bug. But yeah, so say if we were setting out the FV42, this is the last one I'm going to do. I'd probably go with Born Leader, Rapid Loading, and like I say, this is probably what I'm going to take on most tanks I set up as well. So yeah, that's the way it is. Sixth Sense, Trap Mechanic. If we go Situational Awareness, again, it's one you always want to be taking in medium tanks. Steady Aim. And they're your 6 key perks. And now I run food, so I go firefighting. And you know what? On this, I'm going to run and gun. I'm not going to run the turret rotation accuracy, because this tank is already really accurate. So you want to be taking snapshot on tanks that are really, really inaccurate. But you could probably drop snapshot, run and gun, so you're more accurate 10% and you're more accurate by another 10% when you're moving, and decide, you know what? I want to make this tank, a little bit more stealthy with its not accuracy, just with its camo rating. So you know what, I'm going to run camouflage expertise, make it more slightly more stealthy. It helps me out not get spotted, more chance I'm not going to get spotted, especially by blind heavies, and it'll help me rotate a little bit better. So you could take that instead of snapshot. So there's, like I said, there's lots of different ways you can run this crew system. This crew system, I like it for its customizability. I'm not a fan of the limited ability of choices, but I could see a lot of overpowered builds if you increased it. But at the same time, there's a lot of perks that a lot of tanks might want, and there's a lot of perks you're always going to take on pretty much all the tanks. Like I say, like with the 6 perks that I've highlighted here, with these 6, you're pretty much going to take those on most tanks. So that leaves you with the options of 3. And if you run food, you're always going to be running like fire prevention or firefighting. So that ends up leaving you with just 2 slots for luxury perks. So yeah, I wish it wasn't as limiting, and it would be nicer if it was 12. But that's my rundown of the crew system, the crew perks, what they do. I've gone through it all with you, gone through my opinion on all of the perks, what you're going to be taking, what you're not going to be taking, what you might take, what you might not take. And as I say, it's all my opinion. Other people will definitely have different opinions. So yeah, as always everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you next time.